Welcome to But For Real, a variety show podcast co-hosted by two therapists who also happen to be loudmouth feminists. I'm Valerie, your resident elder millennial child-free cat lady.
And I'm Emerson, your resident chronically online Gen Z brat. And on the show, we'll serve up a new episode every other week that will take you on a wild ride through the cultural zeitgeist, mental health, and beyond.
You'll definitely laugh and TBH sometimes maybe cry a little because this is a silly and serious show.
Buckle up, my friends, and let's get into today's episode.
So we're here. We are in an office building, listeners, and they have been doing construction on the little room next to our suite.
I mean, for fucking ever.
For like a 200 square foot room. How is it taking this long?
I have no idea.
Me neither. So they're redoing the ceiling, the floors. I mean, they're spiffing it up. They're like, we're between tenants, we're going to do it, right?
Sure.
So they're still doing that. And the door was like open. There are a couple people inside working on it. It's all it is like construction shit. But you know what's sitting right inside the door frame? A witch's broom.
I saw that too.
Why?
Yeah. I saw that.
They have all construction gear, but let's make sure we have a little. It's not even the scented kind. It's just a witch's broom.
Like they gathered like sticks. I saw it when I went to the bathroom. Yeah. And they got wire. I don't know from what. Who knows? Yeah.
I'm here for this.
I'm like,
are they using witchcraft to like help? Because it's not working.
Honey, because if you can turn a spell out in there, I'm going to need you to soundproof that fucking wall. And quickly.
We
need better spells.
Get like the Cinderella mice in there. Just get someone in there, girl.
Right.
So that's what we're working with. That's the vibes here today.
A little bit sinister.
Yeah.
Always a little bit
But we're
fun.
coming into the fall. Emerson's got her beautiful fall color.
I know, I felt very fall today. I was like, good morning. It's not 90 degrees, which is nice.
Well, do you want to tell the people, while I go get my sandwich, which I'm very much going to eat on, tell our people who the lovely guest is today.
We are so excited. We have such an exciting episode today with our most beautiful Santasha Wright-Comer, LMSW, because she's educated, honey. She is one of our beautiful sex-informed therapists here at the Gaia Center who believes healing and pleasure go hand in hand. Yes, God. A proud wife and mom of two, Santasha brings warmth and realness into her work, especially when supporting LGBTQIA+ and BIPOC communities in finding safety, joy, and intimacy in their relationships. When she's not in session, you can catch her in a dance class, shaking what her mama gave her, laughing with her family, or researching the latest mods for The Sims 4. Need to hear all about that. Yes. Santasha, welcome to But For Real!
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here. Now it's time for our first segment, Tea and Crumpets, where we tell you what we can't stop talking about this week.
I'll kick us off. Oh my God. My mom and my stepdad are like big YouTubers. So they'll just log on. They're like, what does it want us to watch now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they find all kinds of like really cool stuff. And they had watched recently this documentary that turns out they didn't even realize it was like brand new. It came out less than 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But YouTube was like, here, watch this. And they loved it. And so we're visiting over the weekend. And they're like, hey, why don't we just show you like a few minutes of this? And we were hooked and watched the full 2 hours because it was so good. It's called Listers. A glimpse into extreme bird watching from the Reiser brothers, Owen and Quentin Reiser, not sure. They are so funny. It's mostly one of them is sort of on the production behind the camera, and then one of them is in front. They're like sleeping in a Kia Sorrento for like trying to do this big year across North America, list as many birds as possible. I mean, they dove fully into this extreme bird watching life.
Wow.
Dedicated their entire sleeping in Cracker Barrel parking lots, like the whole.
Not the Cracker Bee.
You know.
But
it is, and it's so funny. It's so brilliantly, hilariously produced. All these little Easter eggs, like. Such a good documentary. Can't recommend enough, and it's streaming free on YouTube. Listeners, so go check it out.
That's cool.
Yeah, what about you, Em?
Bird watching. Okay. So I was perusing Netflix as the modern people do, and I was like, I wanted to watch something a little different. So I watched The Unknown Number, the high school Catfish. You just won't even fucking believe. I was literally like this. I kind of knew it was coming, but I was still gagged at what happened. and just a very short premise, it's exactly what it sounds like. This girl, all of a sudden, this high schooler, she's like 14 years old, starts getting a slew of daily texts from like random numbers. She keeps blocking them, but it's like very personal shit. So it's someone insular to this very small community that they're a part of. This shit was sinister.
I read a news article, so I think I know who it is. Yes. I won't spoil it.
No,
but
it's
I didn't know there was a
so
documentary.
disturbing. Yeah, and they like the person that's involved is like on this documentary also. Like the person that did it was sending these messages. Oh my God. I literally was just I left feeling disturbed. Like, so it's kind of a tough watch, but it's like occupying my brain space and I can't stop telling people about it. So kind of dark, but I had to include it as hers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. The word of the
Scary.
day is sinister.
Bad. I'm like the clouds. Like I kind of woke up and I was like, shit, I'm scared. Like
it's giving like sinister Lady Wimbledon, I think. Am I getting it right?
Yeah.
Like Bridgerton-ish.
Yeah.
I need to
her
watch
name?
it.
Whistle down.
Oh, you say Wimbledon? Wait, I need to be Lady Wimbledon, actually. I'm like, and maybe that's just Serena Williams.
That's just who you are.
That's just Serena Williams, I think. She's Lady Wimbledon.
True.
You're so cute. Yes, whistle down. Very the tea.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm getting the vibes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to go watch it because I know the spoiler, but it's
oh my God.
Yikes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna watch it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And or I'll just spoil it later. Maybe you won't watch it.
I'm gonna watch it.
What is your tea?
Okay. So my tea that I have been missing progress notes on. Sorry. I have been on The Sims 4. I love Sims. And I'm actually a gamer in heart, too.
Love.
So that's why I'm in on The Sims 4. Now, mind you, I have been on Sims since I was like 13, 12-ish, right? But I just really recently got back into it with the mods, right? Specifically, the Wicked Whim mods.
Oh my God.
Which is like Sexy Sims?
Yes.
Okay.
But they allow you, because really in the basic pack with Sims, like, you really can't see their genitalia.
Sure.
But in Wicked Whims...
Are we talking Barbie and Ken, smooth?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or they'll just have, like, the sensor up. Like, if they have to take a shower, they'll have the sensor. However, Wicked Whims allow you to take the sensor off.
Okay, T.
And, and you get to modify, like, their genitalia. Not only that...
Wow.
You can actually kind of, like... create like a play scene also, so they have the BDSM part come into play.
Okay.
They have the sex toys. They have everything.
Wow.
And you know it's only a matter of time until you hook that up to one of the toys that we saw at Stimulate, where you're getting the physical stimulation along with what's happening on the screen.
Right. And if you remember when we went to the conference and when they had the video game out, that's exactly what I talked to him about. Was adding the mod into like a physical part of it too. So you can actually be part of the play with the Sims as well.
It makes me think, did you ever watch that episode of Black Mirror where they're like, if they're doing VR, or maybe it's spoiler, these like two men are playing games on VR, but they end up like having a sexual relationship like through VR.
So I've never seen Black Mirror and I've never played Sims. It's scary. Under a rock over here.
Yeah. Black Mirror is scary. I'm like, the current reality, I haven't been watching Black Mirror because I'm like, it's happening.
I was about to say, this sounds too real for me.
Okay, Sims, all of this tea. How interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Now it's time for Step Into My Office, where you get advice from your favorite professionally qualified, personally peculiar therapists. Dear M, Val, and Santasha. So here's the deal. I've recently realized I'm super curious about kink. Like, I keep reading articles and secretly scrolling forums, and it makes me feel excited, seen, alive. But also, cue the shame spiral. I grew up with parents that never talked to me about sex or intimacy at all. And now, even as an adult, I feel embarrassed just thinking about this stuff, let alone saying the word kink out loud. I really want to bring it up to my partner, but I'm terrified they'll either judge me, laugh at me, or think I've lost my mind. At the same time, I don't want to keep this huge part of my curiosity bottled up forever. How do I dip a toe into exploring kink without drowning in shame or blowing up my relationship in the process. Sincerely, confused but curious. What do you think? Yeah.
Ooh. Well, welcome to the kink world.
Right.
So there's so many doors that I think you can go into when you're embracing or just like discovering kink. So I think one door that you can kind of lean into would be sex stores, right? So one, the people who work there, they're very familiar with the products, right? So some of them even have training on like the healthy sexual lifestyle as well too, or what is that? The safety parts. I'm just going to say that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Safetyness of it. So you're able to talk to them about some stuff and not feel embarrassed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that can actually be a safer route of like bringing yourself and your spouse or partner into the store and just kind of like identifying some items like, ooh, out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, what does this curved dildo do? You know, or what does this little spiky thing does? You know, and don't be afraid. Of course, there's going to be a lot of feelings coming into the store depending on, you know, your personality or you know, but just come at it in, I think, full curiosity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's where I would start.
I think the store is smart, like getting to go and having someone there in a way takes the pressure off where someone knows their craft.
Right.
So they can say, oh, there's this and this, and they can hopefully pace with you like, I feel a very beginner or I don't feel a beginner, and then can show you product. And then, I don't know, the other part of just like with the partner, I guess just depends on like the relationship dynamics, but I think it's totally okay. I mean, I don't know how old this listener is, but I think just like being curious about the fact that like your sexual preferences and curiosities can totally morph across your lifespan, and like that's actually totally fine. And perhaps some of these things can come up because you feel a lot of safety in this relationship, or it's like very safe in the sexual realm of the relationship to where you could start thinking outside of the box instead of maybe fearing that you're bringing this up to your partner in a way of like, our sex life isn't enough. I need to, and like it like being, does that make sense? Where like maybe some people would feel like, oh, you're bringing this up because what we're doing isn't enough. But I'm like, actually, sometimes I don't feel that way. I think this is kind of, I've loved this person or trust this person. I'm so satisfied. And so what about this other part of the relationship that like we could explore?
Yeah, like additive, like as the doctors would say, like stating it as a positive need rather than like a deficit of like our sex life isn't exciting.
Right.
Your partner's probably going to be a lot more receptive if you're like, you know, I enjoy aspects of our sex life and I would be really interested in exploring adding to it. And then you're sort of looking at like whether it's like a yes, no, maybe inventory, which you can like Google and find online.
Yeah.
Some examples of sexual inventories like that. Or there's an app, I keep meaning to look it up. I think it's called Spicer.
Oh,
yeah. Where like you can answer like, here's what I'm into. And then it will only show both of you the ones that you like overlapped on, which is so cool.
I like that.
So that way you don't have to be like worried about, oh my God, what are they going to think of me if they think I'm into this? Like I think there's very much, and the app will explain it to you. So trust the app more than me because I haven't used it yet. But that's what I understand. And so I think that's just like a really cool thing of like, your partner doesn't need to be into all of the things that you're exploring, but if they're into some of them, and then maybe there's some that you can explore in your own like self-pleasure fantasy world.
Yeah. Love that.
Cool.
Okay.
And now it's time for the DSM. In our DSM, all varieties of dysfunction, spiraling, and meltdowns are welcome. In this segment, we break down complicated concepts and common misconceptions about mental health, well-being, and tell you what we really think.
So, we are talking, not surprisingly, about sex therapy, intersections of identity, with our wonderful guest today. And we'll start with exploring some pleasure and desire ideas. So, of course, the laugh is what comes out when I think of the state of sex education in this culture. It's better in some places than it was when, you know, ye elder millennial was growing up. But it's, you know, still largely about prevention, which is important, of course. Like pregnancies, STIs. By the way, sidebar, so gross. What was it a conference that I was at just recently for my school? and they were talking about like how research is hard because there's a lot that has to go into getting a study approved with IRB and everything, right? And that they were like, for the longest time, you could not research like teen pregnancy, things related to teen pregnancy, because you got to get them to opt in and all of the things, right? And so a lot of states just wouldn't allow it. So it was only like finally like California and a couple of other more like progressive states, and they were able to say, guess who's getting the teen girls pregnant? Guess who?
The government.
Well, unfortunately, with our lack of education. Right. But no, it's like men in their like 30s and higher, right? It's like they're fucking, uncles and stepdads and shit, right? Gross.
Yeah.
So that's what we learn if we actually research stuff. About,
my brain like short circuited. I was like, it's obviously disgusting.
That's right. It's usually not their teenage boyfriends, unfortunately.
In the way that we all play out teenage sex.
I had to just throw that little tidbit in there. Now that
no, but that tracks.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
unfortunately.
sex ed, hopefully we're learning about pregnancy and STIs, and guess what? This is another reason why we don't blame young girls who get pregnant. We don't know what the fuck their circumstances are and how they got that way, right? But hopefully we should be educating everyone.
Yes.
But we're not educating certainly about pleasure.
No.
Right? And so I wonder, like, given the baseline of all the cultural myths and the lack of education about pleasure, how do you even begin to start conversations with your clients who are coming in going, I want to experience more pleasure, but I don't even know where to start?
Yeah. So I actually, and this is going to be weird when I say this, but I kind of go back into like some of the like activities that we used to do as like pre-K. I know it's weird. Yeah. But it's, how they ask like, what's your favorite color? Right? Yeah. What's your favorite food? What's all these favorite things? Then I go in and ask, well, why do you like that? Ooh. Right? So what sensation do you get from eating that ice cream? I want to go with ice cream because I love a good ice cream. Yes, right? Right? So I love the coldness of it. I love the taste of it, especially the vanilla taste with some sprinkles and Oreos. But I love the taste of that, right? Why do I love the taste of that? Well, because it creates this sensation in my body. Now we're getting somewhere, right? So that's how I kind of lean into that. And then we go into like the intimacy, sexual route of it all too. And that's where they then realize, usually at that point where they're like, oh, I never asked these questions about myself before. And that's how I usually like to start out with.
I love that. It's so much less intimidating, because I think when people walk in and they're just like, oh my God, this topic that is so loaded, that has also maybe like brewed conflict in the relationship and maybe like misplaced blame and shame and all of that, that like it has to start with, well, how do I find out what I like? How do you find out what you like about anything? Right? And that like learning those cues of like, ooh, okay, I like this type of sensation, or I like this feels pleasurable in just a sensual way. And then we can start to translate that to this more like advanced kind of territory. I love that. Yeah. Cool. Are there any myths about pleasure or desire that you often find yourself debunking?
Yes. So we get in a territory of like selfishness when we talk about like pleasure. And of course, America. Right. America kind of leans into this thing of, it's noble of you to suffer. Right?
Sure. Martyrdom.
Right. And I think because of that, then it's like people are creating this narrative that pleasure is bad, and that means that you're very selfish. Yeah. And I have to help others kind of unlearn that, what America taught us a bit. So I have to debunk that myth that you are deserving of pleasure, and it's not selfish. I mean, really, can we look at the word selfishness also and the negative connotation that it kind of gives to a little bit? Because self-care, selfish, I have to also go into that realm of things too. And I think, one, it's okay for you to embrace like that self-care. Right? And I think pleasure is self-care as well too. So maybe if the selfishness is still giving like a negative connotation to it, switch it up to self-care. You're deserving of that pleasure.
Yeah.
Now, I think it becomes a concern when you're deeply, like, losing responsibilities, right? Or you're not going to work because you're indulging in pleasure. Okay, now you can come to us.
Right.
Come to us.
Right.
But it's okay to at least allow yourself to embrace and feel pleasure and just enjoy and be present in that.
Yeah, like people, it's so easy for us to fall into the false dichotomy of like, if I'm asking for something more from my partner or like because I want maybe more pleasure, I'm not getting it in what's happening here or whatever, that makes me selfish. And it's like, well, sure, it's selfish if you're not also curious about their pleasure. Sure. If you're only thinking about your pleasure, like that's the reciprocity of it, right? Is like when we're in doing this in relationship, like I should care about my pleasure and your pleasure, and you should care about your pleasure and my pleasure, right? And it's a pleasure party. Yeah, and I think with desire, I mean, I think we did a whole episode on desire, so I won't go like too heavy into it, but I think the biggest thing there is like the understanding there's no such thing as like a normal setting of desire, right? That it's more, the challenge is just when it's different between partners and then navigating that difference, which is something that, you know, a great sex therapist is really good at helping with. But it's not just because your desire might be lower or whatever or higher, like no one is broken. It's just about figuring out how to make it work with yourself or with your partner.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So if there's someone listening who feels disconnected from their pleasure, is there anything other than like just starting to get curious about, you know, what do I like in general? Is there anything you would sort of advise them to do to start to get connected with a sense of pleasure?
When you said connected, I was thinking get connected for free. Education connection. That's my other mind going. But I think... Start identifying today. Start identifying, I think, what you like to do. Almost kind of like having, I talked to another client about this before, but having a day of like just self-love and just seeing how that feels for you that day, I think.
It sounds like almost like being a detective.
Yes.
Like do a bunch of things you might enjoy and just collect some data.
Yes. I would actually start out with that, actually. And it's almost like we talked about the ice cream approach, but doing it at a max. If you want to have any type of structure, use the love language and do that for yourself.
Sure.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. All right, let's move into some, you know, of the realm of like kink, sexual expression. So I want to know, how do you explain or talk about kink with clients that may only know or like have preconceived notions about what kink is through pop culture stereotypes or like the 50 Shades of Grey of it all, where like that seemingly has defined the entire genre of kink in like the pop culture realm, but there's so many elements and there's so much history behind it. So kind of what's your tea? What's your approach when someone's like throwing the K word in there?
Yeah. When explaining it, I always explain it as a community. That I think a lot of folks, just all of us in general, I think need to learn a little bit more about, because within this community it has so much already education and consent boundaries, even aftercare as well too, and also communicating like your needs and your desires and your pleasure also. So looking at it in a way of a feel of community, but then also just kind of like, I think embracing that moment of that diversity as well too, of like, what do I like, what do I dislike as well, and then leaning on someone who actually have the same kinks as you or have the same likes as you as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like then being able to, I don't know, like my mind immediately thinks of Reddit, right? Where like just like very like such a place of like robust information with like specific subcategories. So if you're like curious about one thing, then having a little bit of like self-homework of going and reading what people are talking about there, or if there's like a frequent answers and questions, you know, component where it's, just like being open to like some of starting in like the educational, I don't know, like knowledge is power to me always. Also, that's my like way of coping always. If I know something about it, maybe it feels less scary, which I think is for most people. So being able to know also where to go can help someone feel safe or empowered. What are some of those cultural and or like clinical misconceptions about kink that you may have encountered, whether a client is bringing it in or more in like a professional realm? Because I think obviously there's cultural aspects, but in a clinical way where we can talk about kink, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what that looks like in clinical work too.
Right. One of the misconceptions that I always hear is that folks who are abused or go through trauma go into kink. Like people who are into kink have been traumatized, and now we're
the only reason they're that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Or interested. Yeah.
Right. And I like to use metaphors. If you're my client, you know I'm going to use a metaphor. But would you say the same thing for folks who go like dance class? Or, you know, no, you wouldn't. No. Oh.
But Santasha, they're not asking their dance partner to choke them. So make it make sense.
I mean, maybe.
Right.
For the dance.
Right. I don't know. But it's, if we go into that dance class realm of it all, you are asking your partner to lift you. Right. You are. And kink, in the kink community, you are asking someone to support you and to be seen and
I would
to accept.
like to engage. I would like to ask you to do this to my body or with my body, and I would like to do this with your body.
Right.
Yes.
Right. It goes into that discussion of kink. And I mean, it goes into that discussion of consent and boundaries. And I mean, for the folks who are outside of kink, I mean, the abuse and trauma is still happening, even more. So, is it really kink or is it just society? But that's, that's another thing.
Right. Yeah, and I've heard of, like, there was a therapist, or former therapist, now she works more in the sexual wellness, like, product space, who was saying, like, hey, I've tried to connect with therapists and market, like, basically my BDSM products, and they don't want to talk to me because they have that mentality of assuming that, no, this is just encouraging my clients to continue this sort of repetition of their abuse. And she's like, how do I like overcome that obstacle? And I was like, find different therapists to talk to.
Right.
Because we're not all that way. We don't all have that sort of misunderstanding, but that's part of what our educational programs need to get better at with like basic sex therapy 101 is like these preferences are not pathologies. Like, yes, we have to consider consent and safety, but a preference does not have to be a pathology that is trauma based, regardless whether that person has or hasn't experienced trauma.
Right. Sure. I actually met no time, but I actually met a pain therapist during another podcast I'm working with, Here's Our Homes. But he called himself a pain therapist, and he actually utilized, and I told him he did, but I think it was internal family systems, but he used fire play in a way. And he actually let us experience that as well, too. And it was actually amazing just to kind of feel that sensation. But then also I saw how he utilized that internal family system along with it as well, too. So in a way, some of that aspects of it is actually a bit healing also and empowering. Yeah. So.
And you'll hear that from clients, right? Who often who are talking about like their sexual healing or whatever type of trauma healing, that a lot of times what they do with their sex life, whether it's kinky or not, like can be a big way of reclaiming power.
Right.
Indeed. Okay. Yeah, some of those things that you were mentioning about, you know, that it's not always synonymous with abuse and things like that. What is the differentiation between healthy kink expression and then some of the potentially harmful dynamics in communication to clients? So if someone's bringing in something and saying, hey, this is kink, and you're thinking, well, maybe I'm looking for this, or, what do you look for? How do you communicate that?
Yeah. The purpose of getting into it. So I always ask when it comes to kink, or I think when it comes to something else, I always ask too. Sorry, my mind's going everywhere, but what is the purpose of you indulging this lifestyle? Where does this come from? Where was the foundation of it all? And we lead into, I got into this because I felt safe, or I got into this because actually a boyfriend let me into this lifestyle. And, he was a bit controlling. Okay, now I'm hearing some words coming up, right? Then I kind of go a little deeper and kind of like my investigative therapist hat kind of comes into play, right? Of asking, well, were you able to kind of communicate your boundaries prior to playing? Like, were you able to do all these things? And then we get into, well, no, I never knew I needed to do that. Okay. Right. Like my little spidey therapist senses would be tingling. Yeah. Right. Versus healthy lifestyle, they would answer, well, yeah, we talked about boundaries, we talked about this and this. I'm able, and I feel comfortable enough that if something changed, I'm able to communicate that to my partner or to my play partner, Yeah. So that's how I can be able to kind of decipher, okay, are we embracing this lifestyle in a healthy way, or is it something that could be, non-productive or unhealthy?
I have a follow-up question related to that I'd love both of y'all's input on. So part of where there's a lot that I've had to unlearn and unpack and decondition, because in the past, many years ago, I would have probably thought if someone experienced sexual trauma and now they're doing BDSM, maybe it's just because and then if they heal, then they won't want that, right? So I've deconditioned a lot. Because we always need to be growing and checking our biases and blind spots. But one that I still struggle with, admittedly, is let's say if a couple or whatever, a constellation of people, is doing this dom sub dynamic, but not just in the bedroom, and they sort of do their relationship that way, and that's where the feminist in me or whatever, right, the person who's power with, not power over, I get really I wouldn't be the therapist for that person. I would refer them out just because I wouldn't be able to be as unbiased, I feel as I'd need to be. And I could imagine that that would be one of those that could go either way, right? Maybe there is a way of doing that in a way that is ecologically sound for each person and truly works for them, but they could also easily take a slippery slope into a bad place, right? Sure. So I'm just curious, any thoughts that you'll have about that, about when that sort of power dynamic exists, not just in the bedroom, but outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also mentally reviewing different clients that I've worked with around kink, and because there was someone at some point where I believe that element was present, and so it did take some kind of me hey, can I be asking questions?
Are you also consenting to that?
Yes, where because a couple of times maybe it pinged for me where it was around around finances. So that was where, again, my own kind of, my internal feminist or my spideys were hey, but they had she wore a day collar, and that dynamic was very ever present throughout their household. And they also had children. So I wondered what it was like in that realm, but it was very, the two of them had a ton of, They had conversations often.
Cool. Yeah.
So there was constant conversations, kind of temperature checking around certain things, around division. They had very clear expectations about division of labor and finances and what that looked like. Really there was just a ton of openness between the two of them. And this client, we was very happy in this aspect of the relationship and was reporting always a lot of good, and then of course would come in and was he pissed me off, we had a fight, and I was okay. So I even with those things was interesting to me, where it was okay, you had a fight, and where there was still egalitarian things where we're both seeking repair or things like that. So it was kind of only the individual client that I've worked with where that was pretty present for so far, but it was healthy.
And I feel that's a really, we need to hear examples that, right? Because, and I think therapists need to know that if that client, walked into your office, she did on some days, going we had a fight, it's important not to jump to assuming that dynamic is the problem,
Right.
because it might actually just be some other normal relationship shit.
Yes.
Right.
So that's really helpful for me to hear. And just, I think another thing that's maybe important, and then I want to hear what you want to add too, but like, is I think one thing I learned kind of in that space is like the person who's quote unquote submissive,
Right.
whether it's sexual or maybe in this other relational dynamic, holds a lot of power.
I was just about to say that.
So talk more about that.
Yes.
Like, what did that make it make sense?
Yeah, because being a submissive person requires understanding your boundaries and also communicating those boundaries as well too. And also having trust in that partner as well to be a dom and to have power over yourself the way that you want it to be. So in a sense, when you're talking about feminist approach too, which I hear you, it's almost as if we're going as a person who is femme, who is in a submissive role, right? If we're going that route, that person also has power to choose.
Right.
Right? Which is kind of leaning into that dynamic as well too, right? Having the ability to choose and then also be heard and happy as well. And when you were talking about that, I was listening in for like the happiness and openness of it all. And that really counts, I think, within itself too. So yeah, that's what I have to add to that.
Yeah, that consent and like the open roles of communication, all of those things obviously go into like any sexual relationship and like non-sexual parts of a relationship where, you know, what are the boundaries? What are you leaning into? What does it look like? And I think that's really those principles that are very esteemed in kink community are transferable to relationships in general, which is where people get it confused, where we think it's just a complete disempowering of someone or punishment, or they're acting out something that's, you know, has
Deviant.
Yeah, there is still about that prudish. Yeah, America is quite prudish, you know, we have evangelicalism just like through those veins, honey. So it does take a little bit of that, you know. Woo.
America is, I mean, I just feel like going on a tangent. Because it's like you're driving down the highway and you see this cool sculpting billboard right next to the McDonald's billboard. You see the strip club billboard right next to the church. It's like, we are a walking
It's a fun house.
Yes, we are.
You know, that's what happens when you live in the either or the polarities and the extremes is like you miss the fucking point of it all.
Indeed. The roses.
Anyway, I digress. So looking at like the intersection of identities, what are some of the common themes or struggles that you see with clients' identities around race, gender, sexuality, faith, like how all those things intersect? Because there's a lot that shows up there.
Yeah. So many stuff that shows up. If we can, when it comes to the faith part, of course, is like one. So of course, faith is like the church and religion. We're not going to do a lot of conversations about sex. It's just going to be around abstinence. So when
we're taught.
Right. So when I talk about kink, it's like, no, right? That part of my clients kind of show up.
Yeah.
And when really I have to talk to some of my clients who identify themselves as like Christian within that faith, I have to kind of say, well, first starting off with, if God gave you this clitoris, if God gave you this nerve ending to a penis. Come on, Tasha.
I don't even know.
The gland penis. I know it's the head.
But it's got a lot of nerves on it.
It sure does. Right?
Is it the frenulum? It's like that piece at the back.
Oh, yeah. The
I
back
need
part.
to restudy my
Male
biology.
genitals.
I need to go back to the paper. But,
sorry, penis havers.
we're learning. But why did God give us all these things for us not to embrace? And then not only that, too, God also gave us these ideas of kinks and, you know, and really kind of started all the way in history as well, too. We just try to hide it depending on who's in power. Yeah. But we have the power to look into that. I have to help my clients kind of unlearn those certain parts. I can speak for myself as a Black woman. When it comes to me bringing up kink, it's, you on that freaky shit, right? Right, and yeah, kink can be a bit freaky. However, it has that taboo around just sex in general also, even more. So I have to kind of go into the realm of helping my clients kind of unpack that, and then saying we actually are empowered even more. Mm-hmm. So I go on this tangent of how much pleasure we have not been able to entail because we have been taught as Black people that, oh, we're lazy, we're this, we're that. No, the fuck we're not, and we are deserving of pleasure. Rest is activism. Kink is activism as well, too. So I go into that spill as well. So depending on what my clients bring in, we go into that spill of unlearning and leaning on the side that oppresses it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're speaking bell hooks. You're speaking Adrienne Marie Brown. Like, I love it. Audre Lorde. Yeah, I think that's incredible. And for people to see, like, one thing I know about you and how you show up with clients is because, you know, a lot of these people might be, they're coming for some help with their sexuality in some capacity. Right. But maybe if they're also coming from a religious background, like, you gotta go at their pace, right? You're treading lightly. You're not just like dropping in here like, hey, maybe you're kinky. Right. Like, you know, you're like subtly like opening cabinets and drawers, like, have we checked out what's in here? Like, you know, and doing that in a way that is approachable, right? Because it's not about, just because for you, you're like, yeah, kink is liberation and kink is a form of sort of pleasure activism. Like, if that doesn't resonate for someone, like, it's fine if they're vanilla. That's cool, too, right? But it's just, like, what are they coming for support with? And you're helping them, like, open all of the possibilities to explore.
Right. That's exactly it.
I love it. Let's see. What do you think that the sex therapy field in general still needs to do better in terms of inclusivity, cultural competence, intersectionality, faith, inclusion, whatever?
Yeah. Financial accessibility. I'm going to speak real a little bit. For real. I think when I was looking into like the sex certification schools and whatnot too, I saw the cost of it all, and really I saw why there wasn't a lot of sex therapists in general, and it was because of the financial accessibilities and how much it costs. And now things are getting kind of more expensive. Now we're about to kind of lose a little bit of some of these clinicians that are really good because of that. So I think making some, and I know that probably some, I need to do more, I think, research, but from what I've seen, is just that financial accessibility part, I think, needs to happen. I think, and then that will actually open up more doors for diversity within the field.
Yeah, totally hear that. And it's interesting. So for listeners who don't know, it's like anyone can do therapy with, you know, if you have that mental health education and credential or license or whatever, like any therapist can and should be talking about sex with their clients, right?
Yes.
Like, so, you know,
it will come up.
Yes,
they told me in school, sex will come up, and so will alcohol and drugs. So you gotta know a little bitty.
Yeah, better be ready to enter into that conversation.
Yes.
And sometimes we have to at least open the door to that conversation because our clients either are too nervous to, they don't know if they're quote unquote supposed to, right? Talk about that here. And so we've got to open those doors. So anyone can. And also, there is, you know, ASECT, the American Association for Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists, just sort of the, you know, gold standard body of credentialing in the sex therapy and education world. And what Santasha's talking about is, you know, once you've gone and dropped already like $50,000 on your grad school education, now they want you to come back and drop 10 more in 2 years of your life on this additional certification, which is just, you know, already after someone's already climbed through all of the other obstacles. So it's tough. That reminds me, there's one, I have to look it up because I can't remember off the top of my head. It was not Bueller. Something like that, though. I'll look it up. One of my sex therapist friends here is going through them, and part of why she chose that program is because there was some level of scholarship. And so I'm not, if they've got a queer scholarship, they've got to have a BIPOC scholarship. Yeah. So we'll look into that. But yes, it is not easy, and where is that line between gatekeeping in a positive way of quality of care? We want these people to like get the training and education like deeply, but also gatekeeping in the sense of if we make it inaccessible, then how are we going to have great, BIPOC and, people in this field?
Right.
Yes.
And shout out to Martha Kupai.
Calpy?
Yep. I'm fucked up her name. but
Martha's that girl.
I know.
Yeah, she really is.
I love her training, and thank you for introducing me to her too, because I was able to dive into the sex therapy realm of things and actually feel confident enough to say I'm a sex-informed therapist.
Yes.
So thank you.
Preach. Okay.
Yeah.
Delivering our book for you.
Yeah. Our identities, faith, families, culture, all leave their fingerprints on how we experience intimacy, desire, and shame. But here's the truth. Your pleasure in relationship to sex and intimacy can be whatever feels good to you. So whether you're curious about kink, questioning old beliefs, or just learning how to want what you want, you are not alone, and you deserve a damn good time, damn right.
Damn right.
Holla.
For real.
Yes.
Okay.
And now, our musical segment. Now that's what I call Okay, where Emerson and I each share a song with each other each week as representatives of our respective generations. We tell you a little bit about the song or artist, and then we press pause, we share the song with each other, and then we come back for our live reaction. And we're capturing it all on a Spotify playlist linked in the show notes for you.
So tell us a little bit about what song you picked, why, if you want, and then we'll live watch it, react, and kiki and ha-ha.
Yeah, so I actually picked Doechii. Yes! I love good Doechii.
I
love her. And the name is Persuasive.
Okay.
And I really, really love it. I'm a music girl. I love just her. I love rhythm. And I'm really leaning into like neo soul, R&B, and house music as well.
Whoa.
So
okay.
whenever I hear any like house beat, like it takes me back to that high school days, back when I was at my performing arts high school, and how we was just dancing, and how I just see folks like voguing and just just ballrooming everything.
Oh yeah.
So every time I hear the song, it just makes me want to just like I can't ballroom for shit.
Oh,
right.
neither.
I can't vote, but I do want to do it with them.
Oh, same.
So.
I'm voguing in my mind.
Yeah.
Same.
It's giving embodiment.
Yes. Deeply.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, just she's a visionary.
Yeah.
Truly. Like, the song alone was great, but then the video. Is like, how many hours went into costume and hair and makeup design, and then just getting into all of the costume, hair, and makeup?
It's giving days.
Yeah.
It's giving days.
Maybe weeks of shooting this video.
Yeah.
Yes. My goodness.
She's really starting to get her flowers, too, which, like, thank God.
Yes.
You know?
I was trying to explain to Chris, if you're listening, someone getting their flowers. And
He didn't know.
He didn't know.
Oh.
I know.
He's such a white
So
man.
cute. I love you.
I need to do like boot camp, verbal boot camp with Chris.
Please.
And any other millennials that you have in your life.
Well,
I'll be like,
he would be a young Gen X.
Oh,
excuse me. Yeah, very
I was
young
like,
Gen X.
Gen Z.
He's even a layer more hopeless than me.
Oh dear. Well, I'll work with it.
There's still some words I'm learning too.
There's hope, for everyone.
Speaking of hope.
And now for our last segment of the show, welcome to Fire Dumpster Phoenix. It is rough out there, y'all, and we need all the hope we can get. It's time to go dumpster diving for some positive news and rise from the leftover Happy Meal ashes together.
So what kind of hope are you diving for recently, Em?
I pulled this story because I was just like, you're kidding. So a mile-long table. Just imagine this. A mile-long table in Denver, Colorado. Thousands of people show up because they want to eat dinner together and connect. Shut up!
Right.
How you doing? And beautiful. So, from the nonprofit Longer Tables, whose mission is to bring connection amongst people through shared food and experiences, hosted the first ever mile-long table with around 3,400 locals who signed up. Wow. The 5,280-foot table served produce from local farmers, and hundreds of volunteers showed up to, put this on, help, serve food, just, keep things moving. So, is just like so community oriented, and they had Southwest Airlines like as a sponsor, I guess.
Cute.
Which I was kind of like, am I kind of pissed with Southwest recently? Yes. So I was like, oh, I kind of had to swallow to put this one on there.
Right.
But they sponsored this event by flying 10 individuals out to reconnect with loved ones. So someone in the article said that their friend had just graduated like from college or their master's program or something, and so they were picked, so they got to be with their friend and celebrate this thing whilst like connect with so many new people and strangers, and they really loved it. And so I just pulled a quote from a rep that said, the energy at the mile-long table was infectious. We believe that community is more than a place. It's the heart of what brings us all together. I just love that. I thought that was so sweet.
We need these little gems in these times.
I tell you what. We need it. Okay, Val, what's your good news?
So I mentioned I visited my mom and stepdad, and
Yes.
I'm like sitting at the table yesterday going, I need a fire dumpster Phoenix, Mom. You got anything for me? she just like threw out, she's like, how about who gives a crap? So I think we originally introduced them to this brand years ago. So it's a company that makes toilet paper as their like flagship product, but they also make some other like paper towels and Kleenex and stuff.
Yeah.
But we get the bamboo toilet paper, so it's like, renewable. But get this, like the company is so cool. First of all, their mission statement is we're here to uncrap the world, and isn't that just beautiful? But so here's some bits from their website. They said without proper sanitation systems like toilets, waste ends up in the water communities use for drinking, cleaning, and bathing. Using contaminated water can lead to all kinds of infections and diseases, many of which can be fatal, but it's totally preventable. Access to clean water and a toilet could save 1.4 million lives a year.
Wow.
So they've been around for a while doing this. They say it all started with 50 hours on a toilet and a dream. Actually, it started when we learned if billions of people don't have access to clean water in a toilet. That's when we decided to create our unique business model. 50% of profits donated to help the billions of people in need. So they crowdfunded their first production run. Their CEO, Simon, sat on a toilet for 50 hours until they had reached their $50,000 goal. Epic.
My husband
The hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, call a local man.
Right.
Like,
They just sit for 50 hours.
Right.
So they made a bunch of toilet paper, and at this point they have donated over $12 million
oh my God.
to date. They said, hold your applause, we prefer a pat on the bum.
How cheeky.
And they are both B Corp certified, which is like the highest standard of environmental and social impact that a corporation can get.
Yeah.
And they're also FSC certified, ensuring the proper management of our planet's forests. So who gives a crap? Love you. Been buying our toilet paper from them for years.
Whoa.
Highly recommend.
Who gives a crap? Kind of everyone.
I know.
Okay.
Oh.
To round out this episode, because we've had so much fun today, we have to pew 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 do a little rapid fire Q&A, Santasha. So I'm gonna blast off some burning questions, and you just roll with what comes to the dome right away. You ready, Freddie? Okay. If you could wave a magic wand and change one dominant cultural narrative around sex, what would it be?
Oh, this is supposed to be rapid fire. That's so much pressure. It would be to release the taboos. No taboos.
Fuck the taboo.
Fuck the taboo.
Fuck the taboos.
Okay.
Love it.
What is the most underrated form of intimacy that isn't talked about enough?
Underrated form of intimacy. I would actually. This is gonna sound so vanilla, but vanilla's fine.
No, vanilla can be underrated.
Right. I think really just cooking for someone, honestly, or just just that supportive aspects of it. I'm always going into love languages because that's where I start with my clients.
Sure.
But I like that the word of affirmation, or embracing all of those things. I think that's the most underrated thing for me.
Cooking a meal for someone. That's beautiful.
Yes.
And I feel like sensual too. Okay. If pleasure were either a color, flavor, or texture to you, what would it be?
Sparkle.
Sparkle.
Or that iridescent color.
Yes.
Right?
I love that. Oh, see, I love asking people this because pleasure to me is velvet purple.
I can
I love
see
that
that.
too.
Can you
Why
see
did
that?
my brain go straight to chocolate though?
Okay.
Oh,
chocolate
is good. We got
That's
chocolate.
good.
I got my chocolate donut. Oh my God.
Ooh. Okay. What form of media, either a song, show, art piece, anything, captures desire in a way that resonates with you?
I'm gonna go back to Doechii.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or should I go to Tyler Creator? The reason I'm going back and forth is because this will be rapid fire. It's one of their songs, I forgot, but one of their songs, it actually emulates like desire, and it talks about also like in a healthy way as well. Now, some of the things can have that foundational approach to like being unhealthy.
Yeah.
But I know some of their songs are kind of like stemming from like, I just like to be around a certain person, or I just like to feel their warmth, or I forgot the song by Tyler Creator, but I think it's called something about Jane. I think it's a Jane worded song, but it kind of goes into play of a cancer patient who, a person who had cancer. They added that. A person who has cancer who just wanted just to sexually explore, and he wanted to support her in that.
Hell yeah.
So he was writing a letter like, hey, we did good. Like,
which, by the way, to just interrupt your own rapid fire for a second, it's like reminders to people that people who have cancer, people who are
Terminally
have
ill.
disabilities, people who have like all of these people remain to be sexual beings.
Yes.
Like they're not like these
people
fragile,
that are elderly.
like, oh no, right?
Yes.
Yeah. People think the elderly ain't fucking
God,
there.
I know.
right. They fucking, and they got the most STDs.
Right.
So that's nothing.
Heard. I'll tell you
That's
what.
the condoms.
All right. Final question.
Okay.
If you had a sex-positive billboard in the heart of downtown Nashville, what would it say?
Make Nashville come again.
Holy shit!
She said, I don't have to think twice about this.
Make
yeah.
Nashville come again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it. Okay. And that's all we got for you, listeners.
Hope you had such a nice time. Santasha,
did.
thank you for spreading all of
This
your
was
beautiful
awesome.
joy and wisdom. And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been another episode of But For Real, produced by Valerie Martin and Emerson Ryder and edited by Sean Conklin. But For Real is a Gaia Center production. The Gaia Center offers individual, couples, and group therapy for clients across Tennessee and in person in our Nashville office, as well as coaching for clients worldwide. For show notes or to learn more about our work, visit GaiaCenter.co or find us on Instagram at the Gaia Center and at But For Real Pod. But For Real is intended for education and entertainment and is not a substitute for mental health treatment. Also, since we host this podcast primarily as humans rather than clinicians, we are not shy here about sharing our opinions on everything from snacks and movies to politicians and social issues. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. See you next time, bestie.